What is up, everybody? Welcome on into Alarm Fantasy Football. Andrew Cooper here, along with my co-host Iggy Gilbert. And what we're doing, as always on Monday, digging through the rubble of another insane NFL weekend. It just gets crazier and crazier. Nonsense left and right. Iggy, what's up, my dude? Are you ready to get into it? How was your weekend, first and foremost?
It was great. Yeah, man. It was, got to watch my daughter cheer. Big hockey tournament that opens up the season here. Score keep that. So it's a lot going on, but great times. My fantasy teams did great. The ones I care about, at least. So, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, chat doesn't seem to like football anymore, as Greg and Ethan are pointing out. Hey, it's tough. It's a tough game, but I'll tell you guys what, dude. I'll tell you guys what. And yes, Howard Bender echoed this, Brian, in his quick video today that yes, insane weekends, but got to remember, we want it this way. We want it this way. The crazier it is, the more of an advantage we get, right? If this were easy, like it used to be in 2001, 2002, then anybody could play. You pick up a magazine, you draft a running back in the first round, you draft another running back in the second round, right? You just take whoever at wide receiver. Everybody plays the whole game. The same four guys on every team get the ball every single time. Like it used to be easy, and that was boring. It was boring, and there was less of an advantage to get. You basically just hoped your guy stayed healthy the whole year and you won. Now we got to dig into all the interesting information, all the crazy stuff, all the crazy formats. Iggy's going to have some IDP for us stuff in there sprinkled in for us as well, just for everybody out there. So
embrace the chaos, man. Embrace the chaos.
Embrace it. We want it to be crazy, right? Because you're here on Monday morning with us, and we're going through and we're giving you all the underlying information that you need to stay calm and that you need to get ahead of the waiver wire and that you need to beat everybody. So why don't we jump into it? As we always do on Monday, we're going to go game by game and just let you know what we saw and what matters for fantasy. So let's kick it off with the early game, right? We had a game 9:30 for me. What time is it for you over there in
Yeah, it was 7:30, and I had Jaylen Warren, and I was like, he's gonna be healthy, but you know what? I set an alarm. I got up 15 minutes. I didn't get Warren into some of my IR spots to be able to pick up another player, but I replaced him. I handcuffed him. You need to be handcuffing in this crazy world of injury-riddled football, and I got Gainwell in, and I'm really happy, man. I mean, I couldn't be happier, honestly.
It worked out great. Yeah, my brother-in-law had his team has been crushed with injuries. He had Gainwell, but he didn't have Warren, and he managed to sneak him in last minute to I think he was starting Chris Rodriguez before that. His team is pretty goofed up. So what'd you see in that one, Iggy?
Yeah, Wentz under pressure. That's how you beat him. He was 30 of 46. He was under pressure in 13 of those passes. He got sacked six of those pressures as well. So bad offensive line. They're going through injuries over there at the Vikings. That's going to make Mason take a hit. But if they hit to keep rolling with Wentz, I think he'll have better days ahead when he's not playing the Steelers defense. So just keep that in mind. Looking at the wide receivers, the return to Addison, like we talked about, he wasn't injured. He was suspended. He came in and hit the ground running with 73 snaps, 50 of those out wide. Of course, he's the deep threat over there. We saw that in the game. He did get 15 in the slot, though. Jalen Naylor, he had 48 snaps, 37 of them in the slot, 11 out wide. You could see Wentz had a trust with him, right? Even when he got picked off, he was throwing it to Naylor because that's who he trusted late in the game. And with the return of Addison, JJ Jettis, man, he's doing much better with Addison blowing that safety off, making them respect that deep threat. He had 10 receptions for 126 yards. A lot of that in that first kind of opening drive and the second drive. But, he's just doing a lot better with the return of Addison. And then on the flip side of that, Rodgers –
I just wanted to add one thing. Anyone out there, you can probably drop, if you were still holding him anywhere, Adam Thielen. He took a big back seat. He was the guy that ended up on as a wide receiver 4 behind Naylor, right? So anybody out there on the Viking side, go ahead and drop Thielen. So
that's going to be hard for a lot of homers, dropping somebody they really love. It's like Jordy Nelson later in the years or something. But speaking of Jordy Nelson, Aaron Rodgers, man, he still got it up here. He still got the arm speed. And they only used 5 play action passes. He was 18, went 18 of 22, had 1 touchdown. Just a pretty overall great performance for a team that's not using a lot of play action, didn't have their normal running back in, still trusted with protection. Caleb Johnson, And I was never really big on him, but you're gonna have to hold him. Hopefully, you got him on a taxi squad and not on your starting roster. Gainwell career game, man, 31.67 fantasy points, and that's in half point PPR. 35 backfield snaps more than he had in the previous 2 weeks combined. He pretty much doubled or tripled almost all his stats, whether they were rushing, touchdowns, receptions. He was just on fire. They really had a lot of faith in him in that game, and I think that's something to keep an eye going forward. Like I said, Coop, you got to be handcuffing. I was Jalen Warren in a lot of leagues. I had him handcuffed in 3 leagues. I was able to get Gainwell in those leagues, and he really was a difference maker. From the tight ends, you're gonna love this, man. Washington 59 snaps. Oh, Patty F over there, Fryerman with 21 snaps, and Johnny Smith only 14 snaps. So Washington's probably available. I don't have the availability percentage across the leagues, but I imagine he's available in most of the leagues. And Aaron Rodgers loved him. I mean, the snaps he threw to him. Let's see right here. I know he didn't have a drop, so I think he caught all his passes. 3 receptions, 20 yards, not a lot. But when you're looking at tight end landscapes, I know there's a bye week this week for the Steelers coming up. So, there might be a lot of players drop. But if Washington's available and you need a tight end in the upcoming bye weeks that are coming up, look at Washington. I think he's going to continue to outpace those guys.
Yeah. For me, I'm probably going to keep Washington in the DFS zone. I'll tell you one thing because again, he got a ton of snaps. There's 2 parts of it for me, Iggy. One, Johnny Smith was dealing with a hip issue, so we don't know if that maybe limited him. The other is that Darnell Washington, he is a big dog, and they love the way he blocks. So even though he was out there, he was on the field for 21 of 25 pass plays, but on 5 of those, they asked him to block. They asked him to stay in and block, so he still only ran 16 routes. I mean, for me, Freiermuth didn't even get a target, so he droppable. Jonnu Smith, I guess, in deeper leagues, hold on just to see if it's a hip issue, and then Washington, he'll be on the DFS radar coming out of the break here. But I'm not sure if I'm going to run out and add him because of bye week. You know what I mean?
Who would you rather have for Scott Fishbowl, Washington?
Yeah, I think at this stage it's got to be Washington right now, just because he ran the most routes. Like when you talk about just pure routes, 16 for Washington, 10 for Jonnu, 8 for Freiermuth. I'd still go Jonnu over Washington. I think it's the hip issue.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a dangerous game over there with Arthur Smith. I'll tell you, I warn people this all the time. If you have a guy who is a tight end coach and he becomes the offensive coordinator, be ready for him to have a terribly weird tight end rotation. We've seen it time and time again with guys like Adam Gase and Arthur Smith and who was the Shane Waldron. He was a former tight end coach. These guys, they just continue to tinker with the tight end room. It is annoying. So be careful on that front. Next game here, Commanders Falcons game. So, and I will say just the last thing on the Steelers game, we got some information. As you kind of alluded to, Kenneth Gainwell was the guy. Caleb Johnson in Dynasty, you hold on. If you have some sort of taxi squad, like you said, but this was his opportunity to play and he didn't. So for me, he becomes droppable in redraft. For the time being, he's droppable. So just keep that in mind. Next one here, looking at the Commanders game, we did get some more information here in the Commanders Falcons game. Terry McLaurin was out, and who picked up those snaps? We were rooting for Luke McCaffrey. We're rooting for these other guys. It was Chris Moore, right? I don't know. We've got these journeyman guys. The Panthers did the same thing with David Moore. It's like you get these journeymen, and they know all the plays. They get the role. So he did nothing with the snaps. Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey both split. They both ran less than 50% of their routes. So we didn't get anything here. We didn't get anybody to add. We're always hoping like that someone's just going to come out and like Luke McCaffrey's going to come out and run 50 routes and just boom. It just didn't happen. So he's still on the stash radar because he looks good when he gets the ball, but Chris Moore picked up those snaps and we're not really interested. And we also saw a near dead even split once again between Chris Rodriguez and Bill, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Both played the same number of snaps, 10 touches for 10 carries for each of them. JCM got a little more targets, but Jeremy McNichols still got the pass down work. So like I'm kind of just staying away from that situation wherever I can. Yeah. Like if you have to go with somebody, probably just go with Bill. He's the most explosive, but I'm staying away where I can. On the Falcons side, anything to add on the Commander side of
things? Yeah, just real quick, McCaffrey, if you're playing with return yards, he had 190 something return yards. So he was quite relevant in leagues where you get return yards. So just keep that in mind. If you get in trouble in these bye weeks, you get return yards. McCaffrey is an option.
I love leagues like that. You know what I found? I like when it's like 35 yards per point return yard, because then if you get like a big play, like a 70-yard play, but then it's not a touchdown, you get a couple points for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't change a whole lot, but it gives you a couple points. I remember Danny Amendola, he used to just have like a 70, 80-yard returns to get tackled at the 10, and
Yeah.
it's just not worth anything in fantasy. So I like 35 yards a point. I think it gives you enough, but it's not going to ruin the format,
Same with Turpin. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing with him for 15 years. 20 yards equals a point.
You
So
do 20. See, that's mean. Those are meaningful numbers. 20,
yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's like passing yards essentially. I mean, like you can have guys come out and have big games, but even then, like 120 return yards is a really good game, and that's only like 6 points. So it doesn't change it too much.
And this year we're going to keep getting them. They're not going away, I don't think. So
No, yeah. So I'm in on that. On the Falcon side, Darnell Mooney left with a hamstring. It was Casey Washington that came in and picked up those snaps. He could potentially be a guy that's on like the DFS radar or a streaming radar. Again, though, Falcons got a bye week next week, so we need to find out if this Mooney thing is going to be long term. Some of these hamstring injuries can, take guys out for like half the year, like Adam Thielen last year. Sometimes they rest up and they're back. So we'll have to see on that. But Casey Washington's name to know. Ray-Ray McCloud just stayed in his normal role. Kyle Pitts, great deployment again. I don't think we're allowed to mention that Kyle Pitts has more fantasy points than Brock Bowers. We shouldn't say that, right? we mustn't say that, right? You don't say that, right? We don't mention that. I will say this. Kyle Pitts, when he had knee issues and bad play calling, everyone was like bust, loser, clown. But when Brock Bowers has knee issues and play calling issues, perfect angel. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So
Big Fantasy's going to get you, dude. You better be careful.
Big Fantasy will get me for even suggesting. That's why I say we would never say that. I'm just kind of going over the list of things that you don't say, right? So you don't say that. You don't mention that. As always with Tyler Algier, right? When the game script is good, he plays a lot, right? He gets like 10 carries. It's all fun and games. Everybody's touching the football. When the game scripts are bad, like last week with the Panthers, they just give it to Bijan. They're like, okay, we got to come back. So, when times are good, if you think it's going to be a positive game script game, Algier's on the streaming radar. Just keep in mind that, like, when the back's against the ropes, they lean on Bijan. So, anything else on the Falcons side?
No, I like the Falcons. Like I said, don't drop them on the bye week, and not even in a 10-team league. Hold on to them.
Yeah, dude. Every time I watch the Falcons, man, Jesse Bates is just awesome, dude.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah,
he's great.
Caden Ellis is coming. He was like, this close from a forced fumble sack to add to his stats. So Caden Ellis is a stud. They have a great playmaker at all three levels on that defense.
Yeah. And Dunn in the chat, the Saints fan. What'd you see in the Saints Bills game this week, Iggy?
Yeah, looking at it, it's crazy. I wrote good yet bad. That's my overall assessment of it. The receptions, 18 spread around. Let's see if I can remember. 4 to Kamara, 4 to Shaheen, 3 to Olave, 3 to Cooks, and 3 to Johnson, right? So from a quarterback fantasy football perspective, like Spencer Rattler got the ball around against a pretty good defense on the road, so I thought it was a great performance. It's just somehow never enough. Rattler can't win. He does good, but he can't win. Kamara's least amount of snaps, though, something to monitor going forward. 49, though, still a lot. They probably just had something going this game. And why am I blanking on Opie's name over there? The new head coach for the Saints.
Kellen Moore.
He probably saw something with Miller. Back-to-back weeks, 19-plus touches in the backfield. It's crazy. If you take away that touchdown, it's still not a great performance. Miller didn't return kicks this week, too. Like I said, return yards, thinking about that. So that's something to monitor as well. Like, are they getting ready to give him more of an expanded role? And that's why they're taking him off special teams? Like, no, we're going to want you more on the offense. Because there was like in the red zone, they were giving it to him. Close to the red zone, they were giving it to him. So I just kind of think that's something to monitor going forward.
Kellen Moore, I'll tell you, Kellen Moore, I mean, like, I get that he has his own style of coaching and style of play, but it just seems wasteful to not throw a couple more passes to Alvin Kamara. Like, the passes that he did get were clearly, like, besides one, not really designed. They were just kind of like dump offs. That's why he had 0 yards. It was like,
4 receptions, 2 yards.
Spencer Rattler's panicking and he's just dumping it off. Like, dude, call a wheel route for this guy. Put him in the slot and have him run real routes. It's like, it's a waste of an asset.
Taking that job was interesting to me anyway. I was like, man, he must really, really want to be a head coach to go to the Saints with no quarterback and hang his career on that. But anyway,
especially because like they refuse to ever consider firing Mickey Loomis. So it's always the head coach that gets fired. It's never the GM. It's always that. He's been the GM for 20 years. So it's like you're taking that job knowing that this guy, they love him, and you're the first one that gets fired.
Yeah, you're
So
gonna be
it's
the
just
first one to be put the blame on. Yeah, you can't leave your Sanders. We reward loyalty over here. I mean, look at Bender. He's been a Jets fan. I don't mean, good lord, can it get much worse than that?
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
looking back at it, I got to say, IDP Kool-Aid McKinstry, 7 solo tackles. He's getting picked on. It's a good thing from an IDP perspective. Keep an eye on that going forward as well, because the Saints actually have a pretty good front seven. Even though DeMario's old, they're pretty stout in the box. Even I mean, we're gonna throw it over to Cook in a little bit. He had a great game, but it took him 22 rushes to get those yards that he achieved. So Saints defense pretty good is my point with that. Anything you want to say about the Saints before I throw it back to the Bills?
No, man, I think Juwan Johnson's going to be fine. Chris Olave is going to be fine. I will say Rashid Shaheed played fewer snaps than Brandon Cooks. So Shaheed is not necessarily – last year we loved him in Kubiak's offense because they didn't use 3 wide receiver sets. They used the fullback and the tight end. This year we cooled off on Shaheed. He's not necessarily even a guy that is must roster in my opinion. So
He did
Olave –
in receptions again. I mean, but Olave is good as long as he's not passing the ball.
yeah.
Let's not do that again.
Yeah. All right. Bill's side?
Yeah, Allen Manny is worth the investment. He had 10.5 points on rushing alone. Once again, touchdown and rushing touchdown, passing touchdown. His 45th game to do that. But this offense operates through James Cook, whether they're up, whether they're down. You got to, like you said, tight end coaches that become head coaches, they have tendencies. Well, defensive coordinators or defensive-minded coaches that become head coaches do too. And it's play good defense and control the ball. What are they doing in Arizona? Even though they have all these offensive weapons, they want to run the ball even without Connor, and they want to play good defense. It's just a stamp and an identity of defensive coordinators. And the Bills, Sean McDermott has done that. He's had a lot of success doing that. So don't look for that to change. They want this to run through Cook. There's a reason he held out and his agent held out knowing this as well. So they're going to run Cook. That's what you do when you sign a running back to 3 years. You run him and run him and run him and run him and run him. So keep an eye on that. Shakir, season low in snaps. He only had 34. Still the most impactful wide receiver. I still think he's the one Josh Allen trusts the most. Coleman had 43 snaps. Palmer only had 15. I think they brought Palmer on in almost as depth. Like I said, they don't want to pass the ball, but they want to make sure they have good enough wide receivers in the situations where Allen has to go win the game that he can deliver to these wide receivers. Kincaid, he's tight end 6, despite only 18 targets. I mean, Coop, come on. That's the definition of a tight end dependent tight end, but he's tight end 6, man. And then on the flip side of that, Tre'Davious White is back. He's older, but they're picking on him. He had 7 solo tackles as well. Something to monitor as you look for like a weak spot in that defense. Baltimore kind of exposed it. Now he's getting exposed again against the Saints. So monitor that going forward.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on them. Like this matchup isn't bad over the middle for tight ends and running backs when Matt Milano is out. When Matt Milano is in, kind of a problem he's very good coverage tight end. So keep an eye on him with the peck. My guess, Iggy, is that he'll be back next week because I heard that he was kind of close, but then 15.5 point spread, they were just like whatever.
Yeah, let's take it. Yeah, Saints, goodness.
This defense will be better when him and Ed Oliver are back, no doubt about that. Yeah, Kincaid, his usage is not ideal, but in this tight end landscape, you just kind of hold your nose and put guys like that in there. Next game here, I will say in the chat here, you know what? Hey, friends, who's having a super awesome day? I am. I love as much as I this might sound crazy, some of you people, but as much as I love going through the stats and the data almost as much as I love it watching the games. I enjoy it. Football nerd, dude. I want to see what's going on behind the scenes because you can't. I've been watching games all morning, like trying to catch up. I'm going to watch every single one of them by the end of the day today on its own. But when you're watching Red Zone and stuff, you don't get all the information. It's awesome, but you don't get everything. So that's what we're sharing with you guys today. So the next game here, Panthers at Patriots. Look, I'm going to come out and just say it. Patriots are back. Not that I'm a Boston guy with all the Boston stuff hanging behind me, but look, we'll just forget everything bad that happened. Good weekend. Patriots are back. So we'll start on the Panther side. David Moore. So with Xavier Legette out, David Moore picked up the snaps. He was the full-time guy. He got hurt. So yeah, and here's the thing. He got hurt in the very first play of the game. Hurt his elbow. So they had to take Bryson Tremaine, right? Bryson Tremaine is actually a guy who was recruited to Stanford by Brad Idzik, who is their offensive coordinator. And then he recruited him here, but he had to play the full game. That's why the Panthers were in such a bad spot, is that like they didn't have anybody that really knew how to play the outside role. Hunter Renfrow and Tremaine had been mixing and matching in the slot. So Tremaine took the outside role. All this situation, I'll tell you, it makes me think that Jalen Coker is probably a decent stash. Just like we saw with Christian Kirk with the Texans, nobody was really getting those snaps and nobody's really doing anything. and then Kirk came in and was immediately the number 2 guy. I think that Jalen Coker ends up being a stash here because Xavier Legette has looked terrible and he's hurt. David Moore is now hurt. They traded Adam Thielen away. Jatavian Sanders is hurt. So see if you can stash Jalen Coker somewhere for when he gets back. There's no guarantee he's going to be back, but he's eligible to come back after this week. And then whenever JT Sanders is out, Tommy Tremble's an option. That's all you really need to know about the Panthers. Anything else you want to throw out there on Panthers?
Yeah, just real quick, wanted to say, was that Trimble a product of Moore going down, or just that the Patriots really don't have good coverage linebackers?
So it really ends up just being a brute force volume play. That's what it is that Tremble and Sanders split the snaps. This goes all the way back to last year. In the games that Tremble missed, Sanders was catching 5-7 passes. And in the one game that Sanders missed last year, Tremble got 8 targets. And then this week, once again, when Sanders is out, this guy just plays the whole game. So when either of them are healthy, it's tough to start them. But when one of them is out, whichever one, you can use him in DFS. So he'll probably continue to get that volume because they have no good pass catchers. On the Patriots side, Drake May, QB4 on the season, mostly. I mean, the rushing upside just creates such a good floor and upside. So Drake May is a guy you're locking in. On this team, you can fumble however much you want, and it doesn't matter. So keep that in mind. Ramondre Stevenson, despite fumbling twice last week and Gibson fumbling, they basically got the same workload. The only difference was they actually did give, of the 6 carries in the goal line, 4 went to Antonio Gibson, 1 to Stevenson, 1 to Henderson. Obviously, Henderson scored on just 1 goal line carry, but they maybe that's the punishment. Maybe they took that away because he fumbled at the goal line last week, but Henderson did not get the boost that people were hoping for. There you go. Stephon Diggs is trending up, and I'll tell you what. Stephon Diggs, he was always going to play. He was always going to play no matter what because he has $3.4 million in game check bonuses, $200,000 every game. If he misses a game, it costs him $200,000. That's wild, right? He also has $4.3 million in incentives. And those they start at 70 catches and 1,000 yards. Okay. And he gets $500,000 if he gets to 70 catches. If he gets to 80, another $500,000. 90, another $500,000. The closer this guy gets to those numbers, the more diva whining is going to happen.
I don't know why they set it up like that. It must have been his agent, though.
His agent set it up like that because basically it's smart on both parties. So basically, he got a $12 million signing bonus with only a $3 million roster bonus. Or actually his like pay is just $3 million for the year, his salary. So if none of it's guaranteed after this year. So if he wasn't good, like let's say he came back and it was terrible. And in fact, if he didn't pass his physical, they could have released him. But if he's not good this year, they can actually cut him, and it just basically is a 1-year, $15 million deal. Yeah. But if he plays really well, he'll get an additional $8 million in bonuses. And then if they keep him next year, he gets like 20 million, and the year after that, he gets like 20 million. And there's less incentives. It's more kind of guaranteed money. So they basically set it up, and they were like, hey, you know what? Our guy's going to be healthy. He's going to be good. He's going to earn all that money. You're going to want to keep him. And the Patriots have an out. So it actually is in my opinion, really well-crafted contract. And Diggs is going to make sure he gets those targets. That's why for me in fantasy, I'm grabbing Diggs. I'm grabbing Hunter Henry, obviously, if he was dropped anywhere. He's looking pretty good. So that's what we're
one, baby. Yeah.
And the Patriots defense looking pretty good too. I would say
we're gonna have to play somebody first before we just anoint their defense. Okay.
Of course. But like the individual players, like when you give somebody like Milton Williams that much money, it's really scary. You know what I mean? Because like teams usually don't let those guys leave. So the fact that he's playing well and you're not sitting here being like, oh my God, we wasted all that money. So you can feel okay about that.
Yeah, that's true. Anything can happen. I think Drake May is good enough to get them to the playoffs. So we'll see. I'm just going to speed through the Browns and Lions real quick. Rekindling old loves don't work. Flacco's just not good. I just don't know if there's anything better. 16 of 34 with 2 INTs. Snaps, running back Junkins 39, Ford 18. Sampson only had 9 offensive snaps. It's just Junkins is the only one that needs to be rostered out of this running back group, and he was actually the leading reception leader for the Browns as well. Isaiah Bond had 37 snaps. If you're in a pinch, probably need another wide receiver next week. Take a look at him. Judy 55 snaps. It's basically Judy, Judkins, or nothing for the Browns. And then we're just flipping over to the Lions. In my opinion, it's more of the same. Gibbs, he's definitely running back one. He's at 33 to 47 snaps. They use him more. Montgomery had an awful game this week. Trust me, I started him, I know, but he has not exceeded 25 snaps throughout the season. So if it's not a tight game, I don't think they're going to use him. Anytime there's a positive game script, Montgomery's going to get blown out. I think is like, let's save him for later. They were basically in cruise control in the second half of the game. ASRB, he's an elite wide receiver. We didn't talk about him near enough. He leads all wide receivers in touchdown 6. He had more than double all the receptions of any other Lions player. Like I said, they play with a positive game script. But Goff is good enough. He's like, Goff played bad, but he still had his players put up good numbers. So just keep that in mind going forward. We'll see what they're doing. Interesting test next week. Any thought on that game?
No, I think with a lot of these other ones, we did take a lot more time on these early games than we usually do. Let's just hit, like you did there. Let's just hit on all the key things, the odd things. I will say Isaiah Bond, maybe a waiver wire ad. I mean, like he already surpassed Jamari Thrash coming into this game, and then depending on how serious the injury to Tillman is, he could take that job and run with it because this guy
issues. That's going to be your concern there.
Exactly. And Isaiah Bond, I'll tell you, if he wasn't in legal trouble, he might have gone in like the second or third round of the NFL draft. Like this guy is a really good player. And they gave him an unprecedented contract for an undrafted free agent because once he got cleared, they gave him like $3 million guaranteed, which like those guys don't get that kind of money.
Right.
They made sure to prioritize him. So keep that in mind with Bond. That's a guy that I'm potentially looking at. I'll have all my waiver articles up first thing tomorrow morning for you guys so you can get going on that. Titans at Texans. Big one here. Calvin Ridley, only 42% of the routes. I tried to find information on that, whether he was hurt or not, nothing. And I watched the press conference for Brian Callahan, the head coach. They asked him 11 questions. All 11 questions were basically, are you going to get fired? Are you going to fire your coordinators? Like literally, those are every question. Nobody was like, hey, why didn't Calvin Ridley play? Or anything about the game.
Look good. I mean, that's terrible. They made the Texans look good.
Yeah. So Alec Ayamanor, he played the whole game, and Tyler Lockett played a few more snaps. I'm not interested in that. It's still Alec Ayamanor is a guy you can play. Chig Okonkwo is a guy you can potentially stash and use if you need to through bye weeks.
I have to.
Howard Bender is saying drop Calvin Ridley, and I'm not sure I'm willing to go that far just yet. But maybe in shallow leagues, maybe. But Bender is on the warpath. He does this. And the thing is, when Bender does this, he's usually not wrong. I mean, like last year, he said drop Jalen Waddle, and everyone was like, no. And he was actually kind of right on that. So he's saying drop him. I'm saying maybe hold on if you can. He's not necessarily a guy that you can't drop. Texans, Woody Marks, must-add player for me. Must-add player. Got more snaps, more touches, ran more routes than Nick Chubb. That's all we need. I mean, last week he was a must-add player for me. So this week he's a double must-add. And if he's still out there, then congratulations. But in most places he got picked up, especially if you were reading the articles over at Fantasy Alarm. If you were reading the articles at Fantasy Alarm, if you read the stashes and streamers article for following week 1, you were stashing him. So we're rocking. Xavier Hutchinson played ahead of Christian Kirk in 2 wide receiver sets. Don't like to see that. It caps the upside for Kirk. Hutchinson doesn't have much upside on his own. It's really just Nico Collins that I'm starting here. I don't really trust Dalton Schultz either, only in a pinch or DFS type situation. So anything else to add on those teams, Riggy?
Nah, not really. I think you covered it.
Chargers, Giants, hit him with it.
Yeah, Tuli Pelotu, man. He's the IDP. 9 tackles, 4 sacks. He got lost in the game, but I had to start off with that. You're not going to see that the rest of the season, probably. Amarian looks special, man. I got to hand it over to Jim Bowden, man. I think I was disagreeing with him about how Amarian will be used. I believe more Najee, but Najee's out of the picture now. He had the same amount of touches as he normally does, but he was 5 snaps outside of the backfield. That was his most as he's had through week 1 and 3 combined. I think he's the real deal. Look for that, him going forward. Wide receiver snaps, Johnson had 58, Ladd had 56, Keenan Allen had 49, and I've been big on Johnston the whole time. I think we in the fantasy community are really impatient. He's still on his rookie contract. He's just such a big body. You can't teach size, you can't teach speed, and Justin Herbert just looks for him a lot more often. So Quentin Johnson, man, if you can try to pull him off in Dynasty, go get it. Tight end snaps, another one interesting for you, Coop. Gadsden, 30 offensive snaps, 7 special team snaps. Conklin, only 12 offensive snaps and 2 special team snaps. I think you got to go get Gadsden if you're in a tight end needy team or you got some bye weeks coming. I think there's some potential that he might not necessarily break out, but have tight end value going forward. Any quick thoughts on that before I get to the Giants?
I had Gadsden ranked up where I had Harold Fannin because Andy Bischoff, the tight end coach here, came out and said, this guy reminds me of Darren Waller, which to a lot of people, you just kind of saying those things. But this guy was the coach that converted Darren Waller from a wide receiver to a tight end with the Ravens. And this guy is a wide receiver that was converted to a tight end. His dad played wide receiver in the NFL. So Ronnie Gadsden was always a guy that just needed the snaps. He's not a guy that you just like say, oh my God, we're locking him in because they have 3 wide receivers. He's kind of 2 wide receiver injuries away from like true set it and forget it upside. But this guy is easily the best tight end on the team now, and he's a DFS dart through in any given week.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think you got to look for. I think Herbert's capable of carrying a lot of people, and Omarion looked good. You want players on that offense.
Yeah.
The Giants, man, I put Darts the opposite of Rattler. He looked terrible, but he still won. It's just how it works out sometimes. 13-20. 111 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 54 rushing yards on 10 attempts. He just looked terrible as a passer, though. I didn't really believe in Dart. I've never believed in Daboll. I've been very outspoken about him since he got the job, essentially. Neighbors is out with the ACL, in case you haven't heard that. That has been confirmed. Get rid of him, drop him, whatever you got to do. Dynasty, stash him in your IR. Wan'Dale Robinson, it forced him. I was really big on Robinson. I have been, because that was Daboll's first draft pick. But they're forcing him out wide now. He had 74 snaps. That's the most he's had. 66, or excuse me, he had 26 out wide. That in 31 in weeks 1 through 3 combined. So they're going to force him outside. He's going to see a lot of cornerbacks that are bigger than him, stronger than him, and Dart's throwing him the ball. So I don't think you're going to have much. Expect his production to go down. Darius Slayton, 66 snaps for a 3rd game out of 4 weeks. Looked like Dart had good chemistry with him. That's something you might want to monitor. Slayton's going to be able to take over what Robinson was essentially doing. And I just think there's more chemistry. So we'll see what's going on there. And I've been big on Theo Johnson. He's had 53 or plus snaps in every week this season. So if you're in a deep league, 16-team league, 14-team league, I think there's a lot of value there. Or if you're in a tight end premium league, do you have any quick thoughts on Johnson? Touchdown saved him, but he's just out there so much, and he was getting a lot of looks from Wilson. I was worried about Dart, but now with Neighbors gone, I think Johnson gets a bump.
Yeah, he does get a little bump for sure. I mean, because Neighbors set so many targets off the board. Theo Johnson did pass block a little bit, but not too much. He only ran 20 of 34 routes, though. They kind of were just running 4 wide receiver sets. So he's definitely a DFS type play. I'm not rushing out to go crazy spending up on him, though. I just don't know if he's going to be featured like that. And I'll tell you, Wan'Dale Robinson, there's a reason that he doesn't play out wide.
Yeah.
And that's because in all 4 years he's been in the league, he's never graded inside the top 200 wide receivers in blocking. He just gets run over, man. Just the same reason guys like Rondale Moore and Josh Downs and some of these guys don't play all the snaps is because when it's an obvious run situation, you take that guy out. I mean, Tank Dell got hurt because he was playing in obvious run situations in the goal line and just got run up on. So Wan'Dale is definitely a guy I'm starting in PPR wherever I have him. But in the ideal world, they would have Slayton and Hyatt on the outside so he can get back in the slot. So I think they're going to try and figure out a way for that.
We have yet to see Dart throw well. I mean, that's the bottom line reality of it.
As long as fantasy football is broken in a 4-point passing touchdown league, Jackson Dart is going to be a thing. Because if you run 5 times a game, you're going to have upside. So hopefully he can figure out how to pass the ball. But running 10 times has me willing to put him on the bench.
That's true. I forget about four per pass.
4-point passing. Yeah. If you're in 4-point passing and your quarterback is like Goff or Purdy or somebody like that, throw him on the bench. If this guy's going to run 5 times a game, 5 to 10 times a game, like he doesn't even have to be good at throwing. I've watched Daniel Jones be terrible at throwing and finish as QB7. I watched Justin Fields lose his job and never throw for 2,500 yards, but kind of always be a QB1 in fantasy. Yeah. Right? Kyler Murray is like QB7 all time in fantasy football. Like if guys are willing to run, you got to give them a shot on your bench. So that's it for Dart. That's my thoughts on Dart. On the Eagles side, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith continue to play a ton and do very little because they don't need to do a whole lot on this team. Dallas Goedert, very fluky touchdowns. This guy rarely gets end zone targets. If you saw the first play he scored on, it was like, you know what I mean? It was just like not an individual effort by Dallas Goedert. So if you can sell Dallas Goedert, I'm doing that. Saquon Barkley's awesome. You're starting Jalen Hurts every week. That's an easy team to get through. Buccaneers, this is one where the information matters. Godwin and Ibuka played a ton. Ibuka played more on the outside than usual, but so did Godwin, man. So this creates a very, very interesting situation where when Mike Evans, so they had Sterling Shepard play slot. Yeah. When Mike Evans gets back, one of Egbuka or Godwin is going to get the slot work and the other is going to remain out wide. Whoever gets the slot work is probably going to have a really good role for fantasy. So who knows who it's going to be? I mean, this week, Godwin played a ton out wide. He played a ton. So maybe it'll be Egbuka that gets to be the slot guy and Godwin stays out wide, or maybe Egbuka will be out wide and Godwin gets the slot. So when Evans gets back, we'll get that information, but it could affect who's going to be a guy or not moving forward. For now, you just kind of start both of them. Godwin played the whole game and got 10 targets. So that's the guy I'm starting. K. Dotton, again, massive snap share, didn't do much. He's only a DFS dart throw. And then Rachaad White played down the stretch, but that was basically because Bucky was tired from running for a 72-yard touchdown. Like Bucky Irving is a must start. Rachaad White is a streamer if you need him. Anything else on that game?
Yeah, Bucky's a big winner from Evans being out. That's it.
Yep, for sure. Colts Rams.
Yeah, DJ didn't run, man. He had -1 rushing yard, 1 attempt. He had turnovers. He still had decent fantasy football production. JT's matchup proof, in my opinion. Even when he doesn't get a touchdown, he's catching receptions. He's still attacking the run game. He had a big play called back due to penalty. Jonathan Taylor's the guy, just put simply. Wide receiver, the snaps, looking at it, Michael Pittman, 57. He had 541 and a touchdown. Downs had 38 snaps, 4 catches, and 24 yards. And then who was it? Mitchell had 54 snaps, 3 catches, 96 yards. Should have had a touchdown. That was the difference in the game. But Mitchell's just such a big play threat guy, good best ball guy. If you join some kind of like midseason thing, keep that in mind. Tyler Warren's everything he's advertised to be.
Great.
I don't have anything more to say. Their defense was pretty good, just wasn't enough, man. Stafford still has it, 29 out of 41, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, led a game-winning drive. Against the top defense. Williams is still the lead back, 51 snaps. Corum has 22 snaps, but Corum makes the most out of his snaps. It seems like when they're putting Corum in there, they're looking to utilize him. So if you don't have a handcuff, you maybe take a look at that because it seems like they have a lot of confidence in Corum if they need him. Puka's wide receiver won by a mile, and he only has 1 receiving touchdown. He's a definition of an enforcer. He's like a Megatron without getting the cloud as being a Megatron. He does what he wants. He can outrun you. He can outwit you. He can outbully you. He's simply amazing. But Adams is the clear red zone target. He plays more snaps. He's played 224 snaps to Puka's 202. You can say whatever about the injuries kind of holding back. But as Stafford can support both of these guys. It's proven, and they're going to continue to be good.
Yeah, and Devontae Adams still continues to lead the league in end zone targets. So that's kind of how they do it. He's kind of the end zone component, and Puka is just kind of the everything else, right? And Puka Nacua, I mean, like you're not going to get a better situation than this week, maybe ever, because Pro Bowl corner Kenny Moore was out, right? And they signed Mike Hilton off the street to try and cover Puka. I mean, talk about like the most difficult possible assignment, right? Just to be, you show up to the facility on Tuesday and they go, okay, you're going to cover Puka Nacua this week. So go get him, Mike, right? Like that was just a perfect setup for him. I did the game preview for that one, Iggy, and his rushing plus receiving prop was set at 99.5, and I still said bet the over. I was like, just bet they can't set it high enough this week. Like they can't. They couldn't possibly, and they couldn't have. I think he had 170 receiving yards. Yeah, and I'll tell you just one thing on that one, Josh Downs. Like this is the norm. We talked about it last week. All last year, whenever Pierce or Pittman were out, Adonai Mitchell gets those snaps. They don't make Downs an every down guy. He's the slot guy. So that's just how they roll with that. Next game here, 49ers, Jaguars. On the Jaguars side, Travis Hunter, his best statistical game yet with just a couple catches, I guess. If you're playing like that, then that's what it is. With De'Ami Brown out, Parker Washington got the full-time role. So what that tells us, unfortunately, is that they didn't elevate Travis Hunter. They just kept him in that pure slot role that he's in. BTJ, still kind of meh, but at least he got 7 targets. Like, you could do worse. There's a difference between BTJ and someone like Calvin Ridley in that BTJ still led the team in snaps, got a bunch of targets. Calvin Ridley actually only ran 42% of the routes. That is a truly terrifying situation where BTJ is just underperforming, and it's sad. But like you can still utilize the guy. Calvin Ridley, you can't start. He didn't play half the game. So like BTJ is definitely still in a better spot than that, but still not great. Travis Etienne was a clear back in most phases. Bayshell Tootin still got a couple carries. LaQuinn Allen got some pass snaps, but not much can't really start those guys. Anything else on the Jaguars?
Just 4 wide receivers out in the first round that aren't doing well. Chase, BTJ, Neighbors, Lamb. I just got to point that out.
Brutal, man. It's brutal. But we we push on, man. At least BDJ is still playing, right? Like, that's the best you can do. 49ers, Ricky Pearsall left with a knee issue. This team, so many injuries. So Kendrick Bourne stepped up. If Ayuk and Kittle and Ricky Pearsall are all out, then Kendrick Bourne is a streamer and a DFS play. Jennings obviously is going to be out there, so he'll be fine. Jake Tonjes is still just DFS radar, only 27 of 41 routes, so he's not getting the full Kittle treatment. They're mixing and matching with the tight ends with Luke Farrell. Christian McCaffrey, you're starting every single week. If you had Iggy, if you had to rank these handcuffs, how would you prioritize them? Brian Robinson Jr., Blake Corum, DJ Giddens.
I've got all of those guys, but I just
it's almost like it doesn't matter, right? It's just like get one of them.
Shanahan I trust his system a little bit more than McVay's, honestly, but it's between those two because I think Jonathan Taylor's pretty special. Giddens is a lot of speed, but he doesn't have the size of JT, so that might hinder him. But I still have him all over the place.
Right, from a pure handcuff stand, those are probably the best pure handcuffs, guys that you can't start at all. But if something happens to the starter, they get a big work share. So that's why I asked on those guys. I like them all. Just like
I got Robinson on a 5-bench 16-team league. I still have him on there because I have CMC.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be careful. Ravens at Chiefs.
Yeah, real quick, is Lamar healthy, man? That's a big question that we need to have answered if anything's going to work going forward for that team. That's a must know. And if you're in a super flex league, you're pretty much going to have to spend some fab on rush. I think with 4 teams on bye in week 5, they're going to be looking for quarterbacks. People are looking to replace bad quarterbacks. Like somebody has Flacco out there, they may be looking for a quarterback. So just keep an eye on rush, man. You may have to bid a little bit more than you wanted to. Hill, Flowers, and Andrews, the only ones that had any kind of relevant fantasy football value coming out of week 4, and as outside of Hill, they weren't great. So just something to keep an eye on. I don't think it's time to panic, but Baltimore backfield owners, you need to start cuffing. If you got Henry, you need to go look at Hill. If you have Lamar, you need to go look at Rush. On the defensive side, they're just decimated. They're going to – whoever's going to be on that offense is going to be forced to do a lot of work, a lot of yards, a lot of receptions because their defense just isn't going to be able to stop anybody.
Yeah, I will say this on Justice Hill front. This might sound crazy, but Cooper Kupp being the quarterback would be a good thing.
Rush.
Cooper Rush. Yeah, sorry. Cooper Kupp would be a bad thing. Cooper Rush being the quarterback is actually quietly kind of a good thing for Justice Hill because Lamar Jackson does not dump the ball down. He scrambles around and he makes the play himself or he finds people downfield. Cooper Rush does dump the ball down, as we saw this week. So Justice Hill actually plays like 40% of the snaps most games, but the quarterback doesn't throw to the running back because he just says, go block somebody because I'm going to run it. Cooper Rush does not do that. Cooper Rush goes, you take it and go. So that is the Cooper Rush starting would give a slight bump to Justice Hill because Justice Hill plays more in negative game scripts and he actually gets passes. And Cooper Rush means more negative game scripts and more passes. So more passes to the running back, especially. So just a little note on Justice Hill in those like crazy deep leagues you're in.
Yeah, and like you said, he showed he's got the wheels to still burn a defense. So that's not an issue. Man, Mahomes had the most completions, the most yards, and the most touchdowns out of any game this season. Just to reemphasize, the Baltimore Ravens defense is not what it's hanging on yesterday's lore, and they're all banged up. But Mahomes is the real deal. I drafted him a lot actually this year. It was like him, Bo Nix going in that like 7-8 spot. I just couldn't say no much longer, and he's paying off. I think he had his least amount of rushing yards this game because of how well they were able to throw the ball. And guess what? A lot of that is Xavier Worthy. Believe it or not, good wide receivers help the quarterback as well as everybody else so much. So, he dug into Thornton, but when you look at the snaps, Juju 57 having an excellent year, having basically a resurgence year. Xavier Worthy came right in and had 43 snaps. Marquise Brown had 38. Thornton had 25. So Juju's most snaps of the season. It was Thornton and Brown's least amount of snaps this season. So just keep an eye on that continue. And then there's going to be another instance when Rice comes back and this all kind of resets again. But don't sleep on the Kansas City Chiefs from a fantasy football perspective. They got a lot of great IDPs, but their offense has come along. Kelsey had 5 catches, 43 yards, I believe. So he became a little bit relevant too. So, go look at some Chiefs players or maybe try to trade before they get out of too high.
Yeah. Now, when Rice gets back, do you think he just replaces Juju and takes that top snap share and Juju goes to the back burner or does Juju go kind of to where Marquise Brown goes and then Marquise Brown gets pushed down?
Yeah, I don't have their slot and wide split out between me, but I imagine Juju takes. I imagine they all take a back seat. But if you're asking who that third wide receiver is going to be, I think it might be more, dependent on like the team. Like, do they have a good nickel corner? Okay, then we're going to put Juju out there
Right. Yeah.
wide and try to take advantage of that. Do they have a more premier like lockdown outside corner? Okay, we'll use Marquise and Travis Kelsey, and we'll work the interior of the defense.
Yeah. I think at that stage, it's probably just going to be we're starting Rice, we're starting Worthy, we're starting Kelsey, and we just forget about the rest. So
Yep. Yep.
good to see Taekwon Thornton do a little something, though.
Yeah, he
Um,
caught it. He's one of my. It's like him and Tutu Atwell were like my last best ball picks and everything. So
right. Me
I don't
too.
take any production from him.
Yeah. Bears at Raiders. The Bears, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze led in snaps. Alameda Zacchaeus is always the third guy. Luther Burton, unfortunately, still just a stash. We told you this last week that, yes, he made some big plays, but this guy is just not playing a ton, less than 20 snaps again this week. So he's still a dynasty play. He's still a stash, but like right now, he just doesn't have a role. With no Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, good usage for him, 36 of 41 routes. As long as Loveland's out, he's potentially on your DFS radar or even potentially in the same range as somebody like a Brenton Strange, right? Like where it's like, okay, he's clearly the third best pass catcher on the team, but at least he's clearly third, So I don't necessarily mind Komet in some spot starts, but I don't know if I'm going crazy to add him. Swift is still the guy out there. He played a ton despite being banged up. Kyle Manon guy was the second guy mixing in. No, we didn't even see Roshan on offense this week, so don't worry about him. Anything else on the Bears?
No, I mean, bye week. I'm sure they'll get healthy. Don't panic and get rid of them.
Right. Raiders, Ashton Genty, monster game. We pleaded with you. We begged with you to hold on to him, to start him. It was the theme of pretty much every show this week. So for those that did, congratulations. Those that didn't, now you know. And you feel that pain and you're going to be okay. So back to Genty. Bowers, 20 of 23 routes. He's dealing with the issue. Simple as that. So again, in this tight end landscape, you just start him. You just start him and hope he gets incrementally more healthy. With Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, they both ran 100% of the routes. Keep in mind, Trey Tucker is a field stretcher. He, Alec Pierce, Keishon Butte, Darius Slayton, these guys are leading the league in vertical routes. So you're going to have monster games, but you're also going to have games like this one where he doesn't really do a whole lot. So boom bust type player versus Myers, which is a PPR reliable type guy. And that's the way they like it. And that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah, and they're probably going to be playing with a lot of negative game scripts, so not to
Right.
worry.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the Packers Cowboys, Jordan Love, we predicted this all week as well with the wide receivers and Jordan Love, 31 completions, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, 28 rushing yards. It's just so many options around him. Jacobs looked great too. He played 54 or 43 snaps this season. Wilson's on the rise, though. I mean, Jacobs was still able to put up 22 carries, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, you love him if you started him. But Wilson's on the rise, 25 snaps. And last week, he had more snaps this week than he did in week 2 and 3 combined. 22 backfield snaps. That's the most he's had compared to weeks 1 and 3 combined. Wilson looked good. So I think he solidified himself as being able to give Jacobs breaks. On that last drive, they barely used Jake. I don't even think he came in until like one of the last snaps. So they trusted Wilson in that kind of almost 2-minute scenario. Then at cornerback, like this may not be a norm. If Hobbs is out and Valentine, as soon as Valentine was in, Dak just started hammering him, wherever he was throwing at him. So Green Bay may be forced to score a lot more points, which is not what Matt LaFleur wants to do, but it's great for fantasy football. It might be difficult to predict some of these wide receivers, except for Dobbs, who I've been preaching about for 2 years, 3 touchdowns. You got to start that guy. I know he's kind of like looks bad sometimes without his touchdowns, but he just has all the trust of Love. So you got to keep that going forward. Anything else on the Packers real quick or no?
I just wanted you guys to win, man. I was sad it ended in a tie. I was ready for bed, but I was rooting for you guys, man. I will say, Emmanuel Wilson, like at one point, you guys ran out of like opportunities to send Patrick Taylor back down to the practice squad, right? You called him up too many times, and they chose Emmanuel Wilson over Taylor, who had been around for a long time. So like at that stage, you kind of knew that they liked this guy, and that he was going to get some pass work. I think if anything were happening to Jacobs, Chris Brooks would probably get some short yardage work, but Wilson would get probably all the pass work, right? He's very good in the pass
would
game.
probably do it. I forget the second year guy to USC can't stay healthy. He'd probably get some too, but Wilson,
Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah, Lloyd. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's proven himself. Wilson has. So,
Yeah.
but like keep in mind, seriously, that cornerback situation is going to dictate what happens on offense. So monitor that going forward. Dak's legit, man. 31 completions, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, they pretty much mirrored each other. All time greats Monday night quarterback performance, really, from both of them. He can be relevant without Lamb. That's what I found out. Miles Sanders, how serious is that injury? You need to pay attention to that. Williams owners, they probably need to go look at Jaden Blue, maybe cuff him. But Williams looks great. It looks like he's, took him 2 years to get past those knee injuries. We were worried about this offensive line, young guys, backups. They're actually doing really well. And I don't know if that's just because Dak's doing so great that they have to respect him, or if it's just Williams, being able to get healthy and get back. Real quick, the wide receivers, Tolbert had 56 snaps, 4 catches, 61 yards. Turpin, 51 snaps. He had 3 catches, 30 yards, but 175 return yards. Simply amazing. And then what is it? Flournoy, right? He had 35 snaps, only 16 offense. He had 2 for catches for 14 yards. 12. Nothing to really, my whole point is Dak made another person relevant I didn't even really know much about, but Turpin and Tolbert have both proved that they're going to have, value in this bye week coming out. And if Lamb's out 2 or 3 weeks, you should, go take a look at them. I have them in several leagues. Anything to add to that real quick?
Yeah, Ryan Flournoy he had a little smoke in camp last year, but didn't really carve out any sort of role. But yeah, I think it's Tolbert if you're in like a PPR and you need floor. But Kevontae Turpin, with his explosiveness and any sort of standard, then that's kind of the guy. You know what I mean? Like he's got the upside. So that's how I'm playing it there. We got Radha Krishna Kotagiri in the chat. Hopefully I pronounced that close to right. If you like football, you've come to the right place.
Yeah, buddy.
Make sure you subscribe and like to the Fantasy Alarm channel. We're every day at 1:00 we do a show. I'm on all of them. Tomorrow will be Howard Bender and I, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Friday I'm back with a guest every week. But this is my favorite show because we get to break down all the nerdy stats, give you all the information that you might have missed or is behind the scenes a little bit, the snaps, the routes, things like that. Maddie wants to know if that's a wig. No, those are real, bro. I've seen them.
Oh, real.
That's a real deal. Holyfield. Chuck Bass hates football. Get out of here, Chuck. We know you love football.
And free hot dogs, free wieners.
Right. He was my guest on the show 2 weeks ago. Came in 7th place in our little draft we did. Any thoughts on tonight? I'll say on the Jets and Dolphins game, we're looking at Fields coming back, hoping that some sort of second pass catcher can emerge from the Jets. I don't even care who it is, right? I don't care if it's Aeneas Smith or whoever, like just somebody. We're hoping somebody does something. Mason Taylor would be cool, but it's probably just going to be Fields. We're keeping an eye on the backfield split for Breece Hall. On the Dolphin side, I'm maybe the only person in the damn world that's excited to see if Darren Waller can still play football. I mean, Howard keeps telling me to shut up, but like, hey, last year I watched Johnny Smith run 70% of the routes from a wide receiver spot. We know that things are real dicey with Waddle's injury history, with Tyreek Hill's injury history, with Tyreek Hill's off the field issues, with him being under investigation for stuff pretty much constantly. So Darren Waller, if you can sneak him on a bench spot, I'm doing it. I've got him in the bench at a couple spots. The other game, Broncos, Bengals out in your neck of the woods. Ziggy, any thoughts? I mean, any hope for Jake Browning in the game?
Nah, not against this defense. No, I mean, I think Denver really makes a statement win here. I just, nobody's worried about that AFC East match, Coop. I mean, get your eating out of the way, get all that done. Get the carnitas out, and then since we got Chuck Bass here, get the margaritas out for the second game.
The Jello shots out for the second game.
Yeah, you got 2 divisions there like that are both pretty terrible trying to vie for something. So I do like J.K. Dobbins tonight. I think Sutton gets in the end zone. But I think Browning, he might have some trash time. I've got to start him in one of my super flex leagues, but Denver should dominate this game. The Jets-Dolphins game, I really don't know who's going to win that, even though the spread's tight.
Yeah.
It's just a garbage kind of game to me. I mean, I don't know what to expect from it.
I'll tell you, if you're playing let's say you're playing a DFS slate that has all 4 of the teams tonight in it, who's your tight end, dude?
I don't know. That's brutal, dude.
Brutal.
I think I have to go Ingram, though.
I almost have to. Yeah, you almost have, because you can't go Waller, but you're not going to go Mason Taylor.
Gesicki is Fant back this week. Is Fant back or no?
Fant. Oh yeah, that's a good question. If Noah Fant is out, I guess Gesicki could be a guy.
No,
You
I'm
know,
not starting Becky. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that is a tough one. You know, if you gotta,
he's out. He's out. Fant's out with a concussion. You know, Gesicki. They're basically just using him as like a backup, like wide receiver. He has run. Here, I'm gonna pull up the numbers. I was just looking at it, and I'm like,
his whole career is kind of interesting.
Dude, he should never have let them franchise tag him as a tight end because he doesn't play tight end. Look at this. On the year, I keep track of the wide receiver snaps, so slot plus out wide. Only two tight ends have run more than, three tight ends have run more than 75% of their routes from wide receiver spot. It's Ertz at 75.3, Jatavian Sanders at 77.7, Mike Gesicki's first, 94.6.
Jesus,
this dude's just playing wide receiver. Alan Lazard played more inline snaps back when he was on your Packers than Gesicki does on this Bengals team. He's just,
and this team has Higgins and Chase.
That's what I mean. It's just like it's his usage is so strange. He only has 10 targets. So can't trust any of those guys. So yeah, this show, we've been in most weeks we've been rushing it a little bit. I think I say we just. We talk about the teams. If it takes an hour, it takes an hour. If it takes 40 minutes, we got some bye weeks coming up. It takes 40 minutes, but let's not rush through it anymore. I enjoy this show, and I want to make sure everybody gets the questions out there. So thank you very much, guys. Rest of the week, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Tomorrow on the Tuesday show, we do waivers. On the Wednesday show, we answer your trade questions, and we hit DFS. On the Thursday show, we do all your start sits. And then Iggy has another Thursday show for people. I know not everyone can make it at 1 o'clock every day. You guys are 6 to 7, correct? Before
Jonathan and I breaking down bets, looking at the Thursday night slate, pretty in depth, looking from fantasy and make a DFS lineup. So
we give you all that, and then on Friday I bring on a guest and we do like the top matchups, make a little FFPC lineup. This week's guest is Dave Kluge, so it should be a good one. So thank you very much, Iggy. You got anything else for the people before we get them on out of here?
Hey, if you're winning this week, you can still go get players off of 4 teams and put them on your bench if you have that kind of league. Take advantage of week 5 if you're ahead. Don't play dumb. Play smart with the Fantasy Alarm crew. Come on,
play smart. All right? See you guys tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
Adios, turd nuggets.